The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network. You can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Off the air, Michael was telling me that his mom's dog was chewing through his glasses. So I have a dog story for you. Boyd, my great dog that you guys have met and become friends with, he's been kind of dealing with some arthritis that made him anxious. So I go to the doggy store yesterday and I say, what can I do? And they basically hand me hemp and CBD oil. And I go home, I get my dog stoned, and my dog is really happy right now.
Wow, that's very cool.
So I'm thinking I might be the next member of the family to go get some hemp and CBD and see what happens.
I might have to suggest this to my mother because this dog, Peppy, who it's really Pepper, but it was named Peppy by my nephew who's turning 7 because the dog is very peppy. This dog is nuts. First of all, it's the most athletic dog I've ever seen. Except I was at my brother's house and I was getting the grand tour of their new basement, and this dog went full speed head on down a hallway to jump over the back of a couch and went head on into the middle of the couch. So the dog mistimed that, so it looked like a cartoon. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's been a good trip down to Atlanta. Although when I came down right now to do the podcast, the last thing my mother said to me was, "I just want you to know how much of a good son your brother is." And I'm like,
that wasn't like it.
Yeah, I'm like walking out the door, and she's like, I'm like, kind of like, what the f- does that mean? Yeah, it was. I don't know what she was doing. So apparently sending me hints.
I want to make you feel better. You're definitely one of her top 3 sons. You're right. You're solidly in the top 3.
Well, Oliver, the oldest dog, is number 1. Then my brother Adam is 2.
So like I said, you're number 3, and not with the bullet, but you're solid number 3. You're going to hold. I think you have a chance to hold on to that spot.
Yeah. So,
all right, this is so. We got our first Russo our first Russo mother impersonation already. We've already had dog talk. We haven't even started the show yet. This is the Russo Hockey Show. Sometimes called the Russo Souhan Show, although I'm not really sure I actually contribute anything to this thing. This is our hockey show on TalkNorth.com. Please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. It's going to be a big month for our business. And thank you to our producer, Brandon Morton. Michael, remind me, when are our next shows at Tin Shed? Do you have that in front of you?
February 5th and February 12th.
5th and 12th. Okay, good. 7 o'clock at Tin Shed. You can check out, you can see Michael's beautiful smiling face at the Tin Shed website, tinshedmn.com. Thanks also to Grey Duck Vodka, Twill, Fixology, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent. And we're going to get to a lot of hockey stuff and a lot of Twitter questions here. I do have a musical note here, though. My drummer has been playing in bands around the Twin Cities his whole life. He plays in 20 Watt Stories when he's not playing in my little band. That's his main band. He is going to be opening with his band for Wilco and Trampled by Turtles this fall. That is going to be at, I believe, September
Treasure
19th,
Island.
Treasure
Yeah.
Island. So my drummer is going to be playing before Wilco and Trampled by Turtles, two great American bands. I highly recommend that show. And don't let my drummer's head get too big or he'll stop playing with me. All right. What do you want to start with in the hockey world?
Not much. I mean, obviously, Wild Open later today. They have practice again. All these guys have been out of town pretty much for the entire All-Star break and bye. If you followed them on Instagram, you know where a lot of them were. Pretty much. It seemed like the entire hockey world was in the Caribbean. I was in the Caribbean. I ran into a bunch of hockey players down there. Cal O'Reilly was staying at my hotel. The former Iowa Wild captain. And he and his lovely wife, and Nikolai Ehlers was around, and a bunch of hockey players were at my hotel. And I saw a bunch of Wild players in the Caymans and Turks and Caicos and Cabo and everywhere. So always the challenge now is that these guys have been, these guys are still professionals. So trust me, I mean, they're going to the gym and I'm trying to eat the best they possibly can on these trips, but they haven't been on the ice. And if you watched any of the first games coming out of buys, the team that is coming off the bye, it's usually a real slow, sluggish start. And I saw it the other night in the Battle of Alberta with Edmonton. They look like a team that hadn't played and they've been together for 10 days. So they'll practice this afternoon. They're not allowed to practice before 3:00, and then they immediately get at it against the Bruins on Saturday night.
What do you expect from this team at this point?
I don't know. I mean, the 7 of their next 8 or so are at home. And it's an important couple weeks here. I don't know what more they could show Billy Guerin to maybe sway his opinion one way or the other. But the one thing he's saying, whether he believes it or not, is that he feels that this team continues to have the right to show him whether or not they are going to make the playoffs. And if they have a huge month here, that maybe that sways the decisions that he makes at the trade deadline. Now, if they have a great month, those decisions at the trade deadline might be to just stand pat. I don't see him going out and buying at all. So the question is, does he sell or does he stand pat? And, to me, my opinion is, let them play a week or two. Let's see where they are. But I think that it's very clear that this team is not a cup contender. And so if you're going to eventually make moves, start doing it. But, as I always say, the trade deadline is not the time where the huge prices are usually be paid. And you're also only dealing with teams that are really playoff teams. So a lot of times, especially if you're making impact moves with guys with term on their deal, there are significant players like potentially Zucker or Dumba or Brodin or Foligno or whoever, that the time to do that is usually at the summer when you could deal with all 30 teams as opposed to maybe 10 or 12. And, that's just always been my long opinion. So if all of a sudden Billy at the end of the day here only decides to, make one move or even no moves or whatever, I don't think fans should just freak out. I think it's more, Billy's looking like, hey, if I'm going to trade a significant player like Matt Dumba, I got to make sure, or Jonas Breen or Jason Zucker or whatever, I've got to make sure that I've got to get a significant top dollar value back for these players. And that maybe that time to do so is in the off season, right before the draft or even after the draft. So, we'll see here, but it's going to be an interesting couple weeks here to see how this team continues to play. They could have gotten into the break 3 points out of a playoff spot. They wound up 5 points out of a playoff spot here, but it's awfully tough, as we've seen in this league. I mean, last night, another 3-point game featuring Arizona. It's awfully tough to climb when you're as far back as the Wild are, even at this juncture of the season.
Absolutely. Do you have a sense of what either Leopold's or Guerin's mood is at this point? Whether they're encouraged, discouraged, frustrated?
I don't think there's a way to describe any of it. I think I think they're realists now. I think Craig has pretty much made it known that he's just going to let Billy manage the team the way that he wants to. And if Billy decides that significant moves need to be made here, he's going to allow that to happen. And so. I think Billy has looked at this, pretty much with even temperament throughout the first, a little more than half the season, I guess you could say now, 50 games or so. I think he's looked at it as a team that he inherited, not getting overly emotional or disappointed or angry or at times, but 100% feels like this is a team that, well, I'll just put it this way. What he has said to me is that his goal is not to be a 500 team or a middling team. His goal is to be an elite team. So make it, digest it the way that you want to digest that. But what that tells me is that he realizes that this team needs some work and to become elite with some of these other teams in the league. And so for that to happen, at some point you're going to have to start making significant moves. Obviously, Fenton made some significant moves last year at this time, and now it could be Billy doing the same thing, and we could have a very different looking team come fall that we've all watched for years compared to the team that we saw 2 years ago on the ice.
I have a dumb question to ask. I'll ask it right after I thank Grey Duck Vodka, Minnesota's own vodka. That is Chad Greenway's company. He has been very busy since he retired from the Vikings. It's fun to see him making his way through the business world and with his and while coaching his daughters. Grey Duck Vodka, check it out.
When we asked you to get the duck out, wow, did you respond? Grey Duck Vodka is now in over 1,500 locations and expanding every day. This is Chad Greenway, and I just want to say thank you for making Grey Duck Minnesota's vodka. With the wonderful ingredients from Minnesota farmers, Grey Duck is gluten-free and has won 3 gold medals for taste. For all upcoming events and a list of locations carrying Grey Duck, head to greyduckspirits.com.
Please drink responsibly. Grey Duck Spirits, LLC, Lakeville, Minnesota.
Get the duck out.
So the question I get asked by non-hockey people all the time, Mike, is why are they taking a break? And I never really thought about it. What is there a specific reason, or was this a Players Association initiative?
Yeah, I mean, when they eventually worked on the cap situation and all that, they put in this idea. The PA wanted a bye week to give these guys, time in the middle of the season to digest. I think the players do look forward to it, but what it does do is it to me. There's many ways you could debate it. To me, it pulls the plug on the momentum of the season. While some might say that it allows guys to, heal up and things like that, it also puts these guys in tough positions coming back where they haven't been on the ice and they're immediately expected to parachute in and play. So it's just an odd thing. I can tell you that at first when they announced it, I thought it was the stupidest idea ever. And now I actually love it because I take advantage of it. I get out of town, I recharge. This was the hardest first 50 games that I've ever covered, probably in this league in terms of travel. It just has been constant being in and out of town, and it's just wearing. And so I think that the players look forward to just kind of getting your minds off hockey. And it's not even, and that's what I think a lot of people don't get, is that it's not just from a physical standpoint. It's mentally just kind of, pulling the plug a bit, not thinking about hockey, having fun, and then coming back and refocusing for the second half. And we'll see if it works for the Wild. But yeah, I mean, it was just sort of a gift given to the players as a concession in the last CBA negotiations.
Got it. And by the way, I know you mentioned, I think it just went right through my head, as most things do. Where were you vacationing, or where were you hanging out?
I went down to the Bahamas.
Cool. Did you like it?
Yeah, I didn't love the casinos.
They were not tilted in your favor?
No. Got my ass destroyed. So yeah, that didn't work out well. But in terms of the Atlantis, I mean, it was really cool. I don't know if I'd make a habit of going there every year. It's sort of like Disneyland, although I was in that Cove section, which is more kind of quiet and built for kind of adults and things like that. But it was in terms of tons of great restaurants. Nobu's down there. That Fish by Jose Andres is down there. It's an amazing restaurant.
Jose Andres is a national treasure. What a great humanitarian.
And Nobu is one of the greatest restaurants in the world. I've eaten at the one in Vegas a couple times, but this one was awesome as well. Ate at a cool Italian joint down there, so it was fun to go down, and I'm ready to get back. It's also made it geographically easy to come and visit my nephews and my brother and sister-in-law and mother and everything. So it's been a cool little trip. Well, my wife and I'll get back and get going again tomorrow. We got some huge stories planned this week too, in the Athletic, some really cool ones.
My wife and I found if very rarely do we have like downtime, but if we have like some time on a weekend night and we're just not doing much, we found a really stupid guilty pleasure on HGTV. They have like Mexico Life and Bahama Life and all these different, and basically it's just like it's all these Americans basically saying, screw the weather. I'm going to go buy a reasonable priced place on the Mexican coast or in the Bahamas and just change my life forever. And it's like crack. It's like you're just looking at people walking around in the sun, drinking margaritas, deciding to start a life like by the ocean where it's always warm. And it's like, if I watch one, I might watch 12.
Yeah. Well, Hawaii Life is another one. That's a really cool one. Or that island life, people that just go and buy islands. But you're right. I mean, it definitely motivates you to retire at some point. I don't know if I could ever live in the Caribbean in terms of, just hurricane threats and humidity and things like that. But man, the weather this time of year is just absolutely spectacular. Like in past years, I've gone to Cancun, and the weather is not great in Cancun this time of year, where it looked like, according to Zucker's Instagram stories and his wife's, it looked like it's incredible on the other side of the coast in Cabo. But the key for the players is also getting back in time. I already noticed it looks to me like somebody didn't get back in time in Carolina, and we'll see if he pays. He showed up in the middle of practice yesterday, and any Wild fan might want to figure that one out.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Well, let's put it this way. I bet you Victor Rask returns on time today. So.
It's a game of Clue. Hey, go to the Edina Galleria, go to Twill, check it out, take a walk through. You'll get a sense of how great the clothing is, how many different things they have in terms of clothing and accessories and shoes and suits and everything else.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
By the way, when I was giving a plug to my drummer, I didn't mention his name. His name's Gary Cook. His band is 20 Watt Stories. They play around town. Check them out as well. And again, Wilco and Trampled by Turtles and my guys band in the same. This is not an advertisement. I'm not getting paid anything by this. That is just a great whatever it is, afternoon night of music. All right, let's do some Twitter questions. Let's do something else.
Isn't there there's another band in town called 100 Watt Jones? Because
really? I didn't know about that.
One of the I think either bassist or one of the guitarists, Ken Jones, follows me on Twitter.
Wow.
I've seen him before. Yeah, I saw him play years ago down at St. Anthony, Maine during whether it was the Aquatennial or maybe the 4th of July or something. So seems to be a popular name of bands.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't even know about that one. From MJ, our friend, she asked a bunch of questions. I think the one relevant here is there a player out there you'd like to see the Wild acquire during this trade window, or is that the wrong way to look at it right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't root for the team, so I never sit there. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody that I say that the Wild need to acquire. I just think that if you're going to make trades, you just like if you're going to trade Dumba, you better make sure it's a home run. And I'm a little worried that you're trading on the low here. Like Toronto is a team that is, the Wild two Novembers ago, so about 18 months ago or less actually. Paul Fenton was talking to Toronto when William Nylander's contract was up, and the deal at the time that was being offered, I'm told, was Niederreiter and Dumba, and it wasn't done by Toronto. Now I don't know if that. I will preface this because I know how things become reported and all that stuff. This is just stuff that I've been told over the years. I don't know how accurate it is. It could be just a bad rumor from inside the organization. So, but that's one thing that at the time, I think a lot of Wild fans actually would have been a little worried about. Now you look at Nylander having such a monster year, and you're like, wow, that would have been a heck of a trade. The problem that I have right now with Toronto being and I'm going to kind of, I'm sitting right now downstairs without any papers in front of me. So I'm going to be kind of scatterbrained here the way that I try to explain this. The reason why Toronto and a lot of teams right now just don't seem to be fits with the Wild from this standpoint is like, say you're going to go for Toronto, you probably in a Dumba deal, you probably need to get Kapanen in that deal, who's a right winger. Nylander, even though he grew up a center in this league, he pretty much is a winger in Toronto. And I don't think they're trading Nylander now anyway. So like my issue with the Wild right now is they're kind of stacked at wingers. Even if they traded Zucker, they're stacked at wingers because you have Zuccarello who's locked in. You have Fiala, who is a right wing, who is having his best season in a long time. Maybe arguably with the year that he had his last full year in Nashville, when he had over 20 goals. So now you are almost, if Kaprizov is coming and you're looking at him as a right wing, you're probably having to now take Fiala next year or Kaprizov and putting him on the left side, which is not their natural position. And this is even if Zucker is traded. If Zucker's not traded, then you really, with Parise there, you have too many left wings. You have Luke Cunnin, who's a right shot right wing. You obviously just acquired Ryan Hartman last summer as a right shot right wing. So all of a sudden you add a right wing in Kapanen, or you go and I guess what I'm saying is what the Wild need are centers, and I don't see a fit there with Toronto. In terms of like even Andreas Janssen there is a left wing, so I don't know. I just don't see it, and same thing with Carolina right now. Like I think that they're talking to Carolina about everything from Zucker to Brodin to Dumba. And, are you getting futures or are you getting guys to put on your team right now? It's not an easy situation at this time of year or really any time to acquire centers. And to me, that's what the Wild need right now, to just go and continually add wingers. Where this team struggles is in goal. It's up the middle. I've said it all along. Your second, third, and fourth line centers have combined for like 11 goals, and that's Rask and Koivu and Eriksson Ek. So it's just, to me, it's a tough spot that Billy Guerin's in to just go and start trading, top defensemen off your team like Dumba and Brodin if you're not getting centers back for it.
Right. No, that makes sense. From Steve on Twitter, what are Mike Modano's primary responsibilities?
Well, his primary responsibilities is kind of being a liaison with between business ops and working alongside guys like Matt Maka and Craig Leopold. Shaking hands, kissing babies, talking to corporate sponsors, things like that. But this time of year, you could bet, especially the relationship that Mike Modano has with Billy Guerin, that he's at least acting in some sort of advisory role with him and helping him out in situations with just bouncing ideas off of and things like that. Now, he's technically not a full-time member of the front office or anything like that. Right now, there's a small window around, group of people around Billy Guerin. Chris O'Hearn's director of hockey operations. Tom Curvers is the assistant GM. Matt Sells is their director of hockey analytics. Those are pretty much the primary guys around him. And then he's got a number of pro scouts, from Richard Park to Chris Kelleher to people like that around him as well. That's on the pro side. But in terms of front office bodies, there's not a ton. So I think that Billy probably uses Mike Modano as a sounding board and things like that. He also has Jack Ferrara, by the way, who's still in the organization as well, that does a lot of scouting on the West Coast.
Got it. Okay. Hey, I want to thank longtime sponsor Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com, downtown in the Minneapolis Skyway, downtown in the St. Paul Skyway, not far from the Wild offices, the mothership, the huge shop out at the Mall of America, and a shop in Toledo. Check them out.
Hi, this is John with Fixology Repair. For the better part of a decade, we've been privileged to serve you for all of your jewelry, watch, and smartphone repair needs at the Mall of America. Since Minnesotans largely hate going to the mall, we expanded 2 years ago to reach you in the Minneapolis Skyway. And now this year, we're pleased to announce we have a new location at Wells Fargo Place in the St. Paul Skyway. All three shops are equipped to help with your watch and cell phone repair needs on site, while all jewelry, computer, and game consoles will be completed at the Mall of America store. Please bring us your repair challenges, and don't forget to mention the Talk North podcast for a 10% discount on all of our services.
I actually have an email question here, which I usually forget to read. So if you ever really want a question asked, best to send it on Twitter. But let's see. We have Mark Skogstad. Let's see. To the dismay of his wife and two teenage daughters, he enjoys listening to the podcast driving up and back from the cabin. I know we divide a lot of families that way. Let me see if I can get to this question. Jeff Rimmer is a beauty, and I'm sure Michael has a story or two he could share to entertain the listeners. Do you have a Jeff Rimmer story?
Oh my God. I have so many Jeff Rimmer stories. Well, I mean, he's known for being just a tight, let's just call him frugal. I won't call him cheap. Let's call him frugal. So he's big time known for that. Like it's like anytime
I just looked up frugal in the dictionary and it says frugal, meaning cheap.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't want to use the word.
I know.
But it is known of all of Jeff's friends. It's always a joke. Like when you see Jeff, oh, did he buy you dinner? You know, like because you just know he did. Here's a great example. So, I mean, I think I've told this story before. So Jeff is one of my best friends. I've known him for forever since I started covering the league. In a lot of ways, Jeff took me under his wing when I have so many Jeff Rimmer stories that just popped in my head that probably can't be told. And not because it's bad for Jeff, but it's more like it's bad for me.
You got to tell him that.
Yeah, I know. But one time I'm at his house and we're watching. Jeff is the person I used to always tell that he used to have Canadian dish. So a lot of us would go over there during the trade deadline or free agency and watch it with him. So I've told the story before when Len Barry's son Tyson was like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. He was on the floor playing mini sticks as we're all watching the trade deadline show one trade deadline. And now Tyson Barry is a stud defenseman in the NHL. But the one time I'm over his house watching playoffs hockey, Jeff, and to preface the story, Jeff, like I'd look between periods sometimes at the TV above me in the press box, and I'd see Jeff as he's just doing a hit. He'd be holding a Dunkin' Donuts mug, and I always thought that was weird because Dunkin' Donuts wasn't like a sponsor of at that time Sunshine TV network or eventually Fox Sports Florida. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I used to always give him like, how much is Dunkin' Donuts giving you to hold that mug? It's too obvious. And he's like, oh, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It's just, I like my mug. And so I'm in his kitchen one day and I'm like looking for like a corkscrew or something. And I'm opening these drawers watching, and he's on the ground in his living room watching playoff hockey. And I open up this one drawer and I look down, and in there has got to be 500 Dunkin' Donuts coupons. and I'm like, Rimmer, and he's like, what? And I grab a bunch of coupons, and he looks at me, and it's what he always says. He goes, Russo, put that down. Like, he knew right away that I caught him, that he was getting paid in coupons from Dunkin' Donuts to hold a freaking mug. Oh my God. It's funny. I was talking to who was I talking to the other day about Jeff? I don't know if it was Doug McLean or somebody. God, who was it? But we were talking about Jeff and how he's just. Oh, you know who it was? It was. I probably shouldn't say it. But it was John Davidson. We were talking about Jeff Rimmer, and we were just talking about how he's just gotten better with age. He calls such a great show right now on calling the Columbus Blue Jackets game, and he's unlike any play-by-play guy out there. I mean, he calls the game really. As much as everybody loves to call him a homer, he's. If the other team scores, he's enthusiastic about it. Every goal call is different, and he's old school. I mean, this is somebody that's called games since the early '80s. And there's another great story that people should Google about him is that I can't remember if it was Doug Flynn or Fred Lynn, but in the clubhouse, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's been written. But in the Montreal Expos clubhouse once. He got kicked in the face by one of those two players for something, over something with Pete Rose. So I gotta figure out. Yeah, I'll figure that story out. But it was written at the time, so I'll figure that story out and find it and share that on the next podcast.
Yeah,
but there are so many Jeff Rimmer stories. Oh my God. Whoever sent that email, I'll have to just sit with you and tell you a bunch of Jeff Rimmer stories. So.
Yeah, and it was, let me get back to that. That was from Mark Skogstad, or Skogstad, I think is the correct pronunciation. Good question. Anything that gets Russo telling stories, we appreciate. I do want to thank Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent, works out of Champlin, but he's easy to work with wherever you are.
Every team knows that the two-point play can be a winning move.
That's why State Farm agent Tony Hoagland and his team are here to help you go for two by combining your home and auto insurance. It's a great call that saves you time and money. So go for the win and score savings by combining your home and auto. It's just another way we're here to help life go right. Call State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at 763-421-4900 or online at champlaininsurance.com.
All right, from Liam C. Granlund was hyped about as much as Kaprizov before he came over. Would you say Kaprizov achieves less, the same, or more than Granlund did in his Wild career?
I think, well, I mean, Granlund at the end had a pretty good Wild career. I mean, he didn't have a good last season, but I mean, this is a guy that led them in scoring once and had 28 goals one year, I believe, and to me, wound up having a decent career with Minnesota. But I don't disagree with you. There was a ton of hype with Granlund. I will say that from a pure, now Granlund came in the day of like where, social media was still like, he was drafted in 2010. Like, I don't remember as many people being on Twitter. I don't remember YouTube being as prevalent. So Granlund, we didn't get to see all the highlights, but Granlund was a different type of highlight machine, where this guy, the goals that he scores are just absolutely sensational. And so, again, different eras. So I don't know if those highlights existed of Granlund, but this guy looks like the absolute real deal. I mean, he is a special player, intelligent, battles his butt off, and just super skilled. Hands like no Wild player we've ever seen. And I honestly, I know that sounds like I'm hyping him up, but what he's able to do with that puck is pretty doggone special. And Gaborik obviously was a great player here, but Gaborik wasn't a dipsy doodler. He had the best wrist shot in the NHL, really, or one of the best when he played. But that was his shot. He didn't have slap shots. He didn't 180 around guys and things like that. It was very rarely that we saw that out of Gaborik. Gaborik's game was all speed and insane hands from a wrist shot perspective. Where this guy seems to be able to do absolutely everything. But again, totally different level, KHL. He's going to come here. He's still going to be a rookie on a smaller sheet of ice and different mentality. He's going to have a target on his head from other teams because they've read all the hype and seen all the hype for years as well. So, while I don't disagree with the person that brings up this comparison, because it's a good one, because Granlund was absolutely hyped to the point that the Wild sent a camera crew over to Finland to have Granlund announce his own signing on Wild.com. That just shows you how hyped he was at the time. And while again, I don't disagree that this guy is going to need time to adjust to being an NHL player, and that people shouldn't expect him to come in and be a savior, a superstar right off the top. I do think that Kaprizov is going to function in this league and play really, really well.
And so maybe possibly a franchise changing player, or is that unfair to say at this stage?
I think that there's franchise. He's going to need help. I mean, this is not somebody that's just going to come in and be able to do it all alone. There's just no doubt about that. I don't think. You look at right now the centers on this team, and it's a major problem. And that's why I also think that guys like Zucker, Parisi, Fiala, Cunnin, all these guys need a little bit benefit of the doubt when people talk about the fact that they're not producing the way that you'd want them to. I mean, they don't have centers dishing them the puck. Zuccarello as well doesn't have a guy that's able to just always get him the puck in the right positions. I mean, again, Eric Stahl is more of a shooter than a passer. That to me is the one area that Billy Guerin is going to have to address and figure out a way to get those guys in here.
Zach Brown and Chris LeBreche both asked pretty much the same question, which is, are the Twitter rumors about Wild trades driving you absolutely crazy?
Well, I mean, it's not driving me crazy, but I mean, I do have pet peeves that will trigger me in a heartbeat on Twitter, and I every time I do it, I feel bad afterwards, but I do. One is one that I joked about a couple months ago or a month ago is that tweet didn't age well. That type of thing just drives me absolutely bonkers. Do you get that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you tweet something and they're like, that tweet didn't age well. Like, if I could only see the future. The other one is, if you call me a homer, it's usually an automatic block. Just done. But the other one that just drives me crazy is any tweet that ends with thoughts ? It just drives me crazy.
No. Please write a
I mean,
column
it really,
just
yeah,
for me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just thoughts. I mean, come on. But the one that last night got me was somebody tweets at me like thoughts on a tweet from NHL Rumors Daily. That is a Twitter account and a website that hasn't been updated since like 2019, but a Twitter account that continues to just take stuff from writers and then come up with their own like somebody asked him, where do you think, like a Wild fan asked him, where do you think Zucker's going to go? And this guy writes Penguins, Sabres, or Flames. And then somebody that follows me on Twitter and that hopefully reads The Athletic writes to me, Russo hockey, thoughts? Like, first of all, they're getting it from me, and second of all, like, my thoughts are written and said daily. My thoughts are on 3 different podcasts, KFAN and in The Athletic daily. The only reason why all the Zucker stuff is out there is because we've been writing it. So those are my thoughts. And so to me, it's one, the thoughts triggered me, but to me, it's an insult when you take a anonymous, like one with zero credibility, just a Twitter account that's just NHL Daily Rumors with no name attached to it. And you are going to the beat writer and asking thoughts on this rumor. Like it's just, to me, it's insulting. And so, I just think that fans should, one, be a little weary this time of year on, what you read and who you're believing. To me, there are obvious sources that you can go to that are going to know about what's going on with the Wild. And that's who you should read. But then to come at me with thoughts on this anonymous thing, like I should give it any credence. And that the person that was tweeting me acted like it was a surprise that this person was saying that Zucker might be traded to these teams. And by the way, I can't imagine that Zucker didn't put the Flames on his no trade list. So that to me seemed a bit out to lunch to think that the Flames would be one of the 3 teams that he could end up with. And no offense to Buffalo, but I would think that Zucker put Buffalo on the no trade list as well. So anyway.
I think anytime you say anything about Buffalo, you're pretty much offending Buffalo. So I don't think you have to say no offense.
Yeah. So
hey, if you want to hear Russo rant,
I will say, in all seriousness, I mean, this has got to be. I haven't asked him about it, but this has got to again be a tough time for the Zuckers. I mean, every year he's just in trade rumors. Then you finally get your long-term contract, and you're still in trade rumors.
Yep.
It's just amazing, and just the irony that Paul Fenton tried so hard to trade him last year, didn't wind up doing it, and now he's could very well be traded again. And remember, there's a real life component to this because Carly Zucker has made very clear that she's not going to be able to move if Jason is traded. So, which means Jason's going to be away from his biological children anytime he's playing hockey elsewhere. And the reason why she can't move is because she's got a child with her first, in her first marriage that she just can't, from a custody standpoint, take their daughter out of Minnesota. And so she's got to stay. And so this is a real life stress on them. And so, that's the other thing that I think that we should treat this with a little bit of kid gloves right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. If you want to hear Russo rant live, come to Tin Shed in Savage. Big place, and we usually fill it up pretty well with all the loyal listeners that come out that we really appreciate. February 5th, February 12th, 7 p.m. each night. We usually do about an hour show. So you can come early, you can have dinner during the show, you can have a beer or a soda or whatever, a pop. We appreciate everybody who shows up. TinShedMN.com. Also go to TinShedMN.com for coupons, discounts, buy one, get one free, take and bake pizza, fundraising, sports team shows, parties, whatever. TinShedMN.com. They've got it all going on right there. I keep meeting more and more people who go there either because they like the place or because they go to see certain games on the TV. They got a million big screens, video games, kids stuff. It's just a great place. TinShedMN.com. Let's see. I think we have one from Kevin O. With the Flyers' displeasure with their schedule coming to light, do you think the NHL needs to reevaluate?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? With the Flyers,
basically, with the Flyers' displeasure with their schedule coming to light, do you think the NHL needs to reevaluate the way they handle their schedule?
It's funny because Chuck Fletcher used to always have problems with the Wild schedule as well. I mean, look, it is not an easy thing to build the NHL schedule. I mean, you're dealing with arenas, multi-purpose arenas that have, also teams in town. Every team in the league wants their certain dates to have weekend dates, to not be home a lot during football season. It's just not easy. You have teams like the LA Kings that you're in a really multi-purpose arena where you got to sit there and deal with the Clippers and Lakers schedules as well. So it's just not easy. And so I would love to do that story. And it's funny, the league, every time I ask, they've denied that request. And yet last year, Mark Lazarus was granted that request to write the story. So he wrote an interesting story that kind of paints the picture on how the league schedule maker makes the schedule and the difficulty in it. And the way it works is that teams meet the beginning of so right now at the beginning of this season, the Wild already met with the league and gave them essentially dates that they would like for the next 2020-21 season. And then you are in constant communication all year long. And then you get to meet with them again. Like one team I know just met with them the other day, just happened because I just happened to talk to that GM the other day. And then the way it works is then you get eventually your kind of a draft your schedule, and you could now request, I think, up to 3 changes. And so a lot of times it's you're at the mercy of those 3 changes and then nothing else. And so you got to pick your battles. And even if you request those changes, it's no guarantee that the schedule maker can really adhere to them because of situations of the other teams that you're playing and their travel and when they can come back and to play you and things like that. I cannot imagine how complicated it is. And the NHL schedule maker, the way I understand it, still does it by hand. I mean, I bet you his office is just something to be seen. It's not like a computerized algorithm and things like that. And so, I do think that it would be nice if they changed it, but I will say, I think, Jonathan Taves had some ideas. I didn't love his ideas and things like that on the way that his schedule that he wanted it to be done. But it's just not an easy thing. I have not read, by the way, what the Flyers' issues are, but I can tell you that those East Coast teams have nothing to complain about at all. I remember once Terry Murray once told me when he was coaching coaching the Philadelphia Flyers that they were on like a 12-game road trip, and he slept in his own bed in Philly like 6 times during the road trip. It's just like, it's just those teams, they got no travel there. I mean, even like teams like Carolina, Florida, and Tampa, who have the hardest hardest travel at all in that conference. I mean, even I've asked Nino about it in the last year, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's cupcake compared to Minnesota. You're not showing up at 4 a.m. anymore. Landing at 4 a.m. You're not. Every flight isn't 2.5, 3 hours. Usually your flights are hour and a half max. If you're in the Northeast, you're pretty much taking up and downers. I mean, it's crazy how quickly you can be back into your hotel or your bed. I don't know. I have to read more on what the Flyers are complaining about. But Chuck likes to complain about the schedule. So, and you know what? And a lot of times, justifiably so. Sometimes, as Wild fans know, the Wild schedule is just crazy, especially at the beginning of the year when they always get those 5 or 6 day breaks right after a long training camp.
I always suspected you were on up and downers a lot.
Maybe.
2 more Twitter questions. We appreciate you sending them all in. I know we don't always get to them all, but it's great to have them here and have some good new topics that maybe I wouldn't have thought of presented.
Well, you probably don't see all the Twitter questions because you're muting people because they always ask you for your thoughts.
That's a good point, actually. From Bill, our old friend Bill, with Sabres being terrible again, should Guerin be calling to see if there's any way they'd move Sam Reinhart?
Well, they need centers. It's funny. Sam Reinhart's one of those guys. He has long been asked about. Like Wild fans have asked me about him for feels like a decade, even though he's not. He's barely 10 years old. But I don't see enough of him. But they look. That is something that there could be a fit there. Again, the reason what would make Buffalo and Minnesota kind of interesting partners is before a trade deadline, 2 potential non-playoff teams trading with each other, but they'd be doing it because they're actually making quote hockey trades. But it would be interesting to see what they need because again, there are a lot of people that have said that the Sabres would be interested in Jason Zucker, but the question is Jason Zucker? I am not privy to what's on his no trade list. So with Jason Zucker, when you're sitting down with a blank canvas last summer, and you can list 10 teams that you're not trading, that you do not want to be traded to, what would they be? Just think of it if you're Jim Souhan and you're figuring that out. Now, if you're Jason, probably one on your list is Calgary, because they wanted you. I assume that he doesn't want to go play in Canada because of his situation with his family. And so I would think that he would put Calgary down. So what are your other teams? Geographically, you're probably allowing yourself to be traded to teams like St. Louis, Nashville, Chicago, Detroit, even maybe, just because it'd be easy to get home. Denver would be another one. But if you have a blank canvas with 30 teams and 30 other teams in the NHL, no offense, but most, and you know what, Craig Custance once did this exercise where he basically polled agents on who would be the teams out there that are most listed on no trades. And Buffalo was right near the top. Buffalo, Edmonton, Winnipeg were right near the top, if I remember correctly. So I would think that Buffalo would probably be, if you have 30 teams to pick from, to choose 10 teams that you want to be traded to, I would think that Jason would have listed Buffalo as a no trade, but I don't know.
I love the phrase "no offense," which is kind of like "with all due respect." So basically, it means the opposite of what you're trying to. And "no offense" means I'm about to offend you, but you've been warned. And "with all due respect" means I don't have any respect for you, but I wanted to. I wanted to give myself an out before I tried that.
And I'm not even saying because of the city. I'm just saying, the situation with the team. They've been on the downward spiral, it seems, for years now, and not able to get back up. So that'd probably be part of it. It is actually not. They do, I think, have one non-flight coming home every morning at 6 a.m. coming back to Minnesota. So, and it's a real quick flight, actually. I mean, Buffalo to Minneapolis is barely 2 hours. So from that standpoint, it might be appropriate, but I don't know if he went in depth like that. Like, oh, they got non-stops to Minneapolis to get home. I would just think because of the team and look, perception is reality sometimes, and I would venture to say that not a lot of NHLers, when they go to Buffalo, downtown Buffalo, which is just it's like a desert island. I mean, there's nothing around the hotel really. I got to think that a lot of players just do not love going to Buffalo. But you ask anybody that's ever played for the Sabres, and they absolutely love playing for the Sabres. They love the arena. They love the area. So there are obviously suburbs around there that are beautiful that, when you're just in and out of town, you don't get to see. But as well as I do, downtown Buffalo is pit. It's just brutal. So, and by the arena is actually really nice now. I mean, but it's still nothing there. I mean, the only thing there, you got the Marriott, you got the Courtyard Marriott, and there is nothing else. And you got a shell of what the Buffalo News used to look like. You have a casino near there. In that Marriott property, you have a sports bar that's, overrated, and you have and you do have a really cool, healthy snack food place next to the Tim Hortons in the bottom of the Marriott. That's like the only thing down there. So this is what players see, and this is what hurts them in from when they're recruiting. It's kind of like. Sometimes I feel that way even about the Wild. A lot of these guys, they fly in. If you've never been to Minnesota, you land, you go to the St. Paul Hotel, you take the Skyway system to the arena. You don't get to really go anywhere. It's in Minnesota, you're in and out. It's too cold to leave the hotel a lot of times. So I think a lot of guys, I think that sometimes hurts the Wild when it comes to recruiting too. When you have, the choice between signing in Minnesota and signing with just a really, cool city elsewhere, like say Panarin last summer, where it's like, the Wild would have loved Panarin, but he's going to Manhattan, that's just the way it works. So.
Yes. Two more quick questions. Thank you again to Twill in the Edina Galleria. Grey Duck Vodka, check it out. I know I like myself a vodka tonic, and theirs works really well in that mix. Thanks to Fixology Repair. Tony Hogan, your State Farm agent Champlain. And again, February 5th and 12th, we will be live at Tin Shed Tavern at 7 o'clock. Please stop by and say hello. From Elin, our old friend, is there any way Guerin could or would trade Zuccarello over Zucker, considering Zucker is younger, faster skater, better goal scorer, and has strong ties to the community?
I don't see how because of that no move clause. You know, I mean, he's 32, turning 33 years old, Zuccarello. He's got 4 years left on a deal that's very expensive, and that no move clause will preclude every team in the league. I believe that no move transfers over, and that no move would preclude any team in the league from potentially protecting another forward. And so again, now it could be easy where you just always go to Zuccarello or Parisi or Suter or Spurgeon, the guys with no moves, and say, "Hey, look, Seattle's not taking you. Can you waive your no move so I could protect that guy?" You could always go to Zuccarello and do that, but I think that no move will scare a lot of teams off.
Last question for the day. Again, thanks to everyone who listens. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. Check out Talk North Pod on Twitter and check out talknorth.com. See some new shows we're going to be rolling out this month. From Jonathan Oliver, this is our Mary O'Neill question of the week. Any thoughts on whether the Wild would want to bring back Granny if he ends up being an unrestricted free agent?
You know, to me, the only way it really totally makes sense, well, one, we have to see who he trades. Like, if all of a sudden he trades a couple wingers and then something's opened up. But, you know, kind of similar to what I just said, he's another left shot right wing. In the Wild, they're going to have Kaprizov, they're going to have Zuccarello, and they already have Fiala, 3 left shot right wings. Now, obviously, you can move them to the left side, but as I was trying to say, probably not very succinctly before, is that like Fiala's had his best season, at least with the Wild, at left shot right wing. So you're going to now say to him, move to left wing. And so we've seen Granny on left wing here. He hasn't played well. If you felt comfortable where you could play him at center and put him next to Kaprizov to distribute the puck, that'd be absolutely awesome. But I will say, now again, it was early in his NHL career when he was at center and didn't function very well for the Minnesota Wild, which is when they moved him to right wing and he absolutely took off. But we've seen him at center in Minnesota and it wasn't very good. Now, but again, you know, I preface that by saying it was very early in his career. Maybe he's a different player now, and he could actually adjust better to the position that he grew up playing. So if you, I guess, as a free agent, if it got to that point and the Wild were interested, and I could tell you 100% if Bruce Boudreau was here, he'd want him back because he absolutely freaking loves the guy. And if you listen to my podcast I did with John Trichetti the other day on the Athletic app, John Trichetti actually texted John Hines to give him instructions on how to use Granlund because he thinks the world of him, and Granlund is absolutely taken off. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or John Hines is just playing the heck out of him now because he was told by Torchetti, somebody he respects, to play him. But man, he played 23 minutes the other night. But if you can, in free agency, during that 5-day window, say to Granlund, look, this is the deal. We love you. We want to bring you back. But right now, we are stacked at right wing. We are kind of stacked at left wing. Can you play center? And Granlund convinced you that he could play center? Then I think it's worth it. But if you are just going to sign him to add another undersized left shot off wing guy here, I just think the Wild have enough of those right now. But look, I mean, he functioned here well. He produced here. It's definitely something to be thought about. But I just think that it's not as simple to just go and sign him because he's available and probably would want to come back here because, again, you have to see where everything fits. And right now, the Wild have a lot of wingers and not a ton of centers.
Good stuff from Michael. Thanks, Michael. We'll see you back home. Thanks to everyone who has listened to TalkNorth.com. We appreciate it. And thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. We'll see you live at February 5th at 7 o'clock at Tin Shed in Savage.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world